Anthony Farnell. Almost as well supported as Ricky Hatton. 3 defeats seemed to derail his career, but he reinvented himself, demolishing Lawrence Murphy in March. And Eugenio Monteiro, based here in Manchester, but he's been doing some damage ever since he arrived from Portugal, notably with a shock win over Takalou in January. Let's pick it up at the start.
Well, Farnell coming off that sensational 3-round demolition of the Scot Lawrence Murphy to regain this WBU belt. In with Eugenio Monteiro, who has the billing of Manchester and Portugal, the same as Cristiano Ronaldo, but without the same kind of wages, I think it's fair to say. What can Monteiro do here? Now, one of the big things here is we've got a middleweight, a natural middleweight, against a guy who's basically a light middle in Monteiro, so that's a big disadvantage for him straight away.
Yeah, but there's also a feeling that Farnell stepped up to middleweight because of the opportunities presenting himself. It maybe he's the natural light middle himself, although he looks as though he's grown into the division.
Yeah, I spoke to him yesterday, actually, Jim. He said, no, I'm definitely a fully fledged middle now. In fact, I have to work a bit to make 11-6. So we'll take that as read, I think. Good jab from Farnell. 37th fight, by the way, for him tonight. He's had a lot of star billing along the way, but having to work for it a bit these days to work his way back into any kind of limelight. It wasn't long ago here they had him in at about midnight after he'd lost this crown.
Farnell sometimes is just a little bit too keen to get down to business. He can waste some energy up close while the opponent's strong already. Things becoming a little bit untidy, and especially Farnell, he just wants to settle down, tidy things up a little bit. This is the makings of a tough night's work for him, but don't make the first couple of rounds tough.
He'll certainly be feeling the weight, I would think, of the natural middleweight's power, Monteiro, and he is, despite that win over Takalou, which really brought him to attention, he is coming off an 8-round points defeat in Spain in his last fight, which was a disappointing result. So did he just catch Takalou on a bad night? Maybe. Good little left hook around the head from Farnell. Farnell does need to tighten his defence generally. He's been a bit too easy to hit through most of his career. That doesn't aid longevity.
He's just too keen to make an early impression. Really, you want to come out, take your time, find out what the other fellow's got, to try to think of ways round that. But he just seems to like to get right down to business, and sometimes it's not the best way to go about it.
Yeah, I think he naturally gets pretty steamed up. He certainly did on the night he got knocked out by Takalou in a round in what was a big sensation at the time. A lot of people thought he lost that on his way into the ring, really fired up with all his fans around him and everything. And yesterday at the weigh-in, he was swapping verbals with Monteiro, trying to whip it all up.
Yeah, I think that's what he does. He likes to pump himself up, but you really want a cool head, especially if you're hoping to box at the top level. You don't want to be taking too much emotion into a boxing ring. You want to have a cool head, think what you're doing.
Farnell doing most of the work. Here's round 3, WBU middleweight title, which doesn't mean a whole lot on the world scene, it must be said. Sometimes you wonder if these titles are just there as titles of convenience for promoters discuss. Rarely contested outside these shorts. Good uppercut from Monteiro on the inside, and again Farnell took it all right. But Monteiro starting to get a bit serious here at the start of the third. That was his best work. Farnell's a bit of a rough diamond, but he might have found a guy here who's just as rough.
Yeah, well, he took a couple of shots just before that uppercut, so he was just a little bit slow to react from those attacks from Monteiro there. I think he was too intent on what he was thinking about doing.
It's good tactics from Monteiro, because Farnell's been holding his gloves very close to his face in a tight defence, and he drove one up through the middle a couple of times. It's untidy on the inside.
Again, the steam he's using up to get these punches off for no reward. It'd be better just stepping back and trying to clean up his boxing a little bit. He's doing it the hard way, although we've seen him do that a couple of times in the past and enjoyed it.
He was due to fight next month, Farnell, but when Joe Calzaghe pulled out of his fight on this bill, the word from Sports Network was that Farnell jumped in and volunteered to fill in on this bill. The British Boxing Board of Control checked in, they said he was fine and on weight, so I guess so. But Monteiro having more success in this third round.
Well, Farnell's doing it the hard way, as I said, but I don't think Monteiro likes this too much. I think he's trying maybe to get some breathing space, but Farnell not giving him the chance for that. But he really could afford to tidy things up. This is not a good round, really, for Farnell so far.
He's never looked the kind of fighter who's winning with something to spare much in his career. It's just that kind of operator, I think.
Yeah, but it's as though he decides to do it the hard way. I mean, we've seen him in some fights where he gets the jab working, he thinks what he's doing, but sometimes he's too keen. See, he's coming off second best in this little exchange. Sometimes too keen to keep the fans happy.
Monteiro starting to get through with a few punches. Maybe Farnell is taking a few more chances now, and his defence doesn't look quite as good as it did early on.
I mean, the signs are that Farnell enjoys this kind of fight more than Monteiro, but that was not a good round for him.
Yeah, Monteiro won that round.
Don't waste.
Farnell probably about number 4 in Britain at the moment, behind the likes of Howard Eastman, who's easily the best middleweight we've got, then Steve Bendall, Scott Down, people like that. Lawrence Murphy, Wayne Alcott, Gary Lockett, and so on and so forth, but not too many Alan Minters or Terry Downs or Randolph Turpins around, or Tony Simpsons or Harold Grahams just at the moment. Could do with a few, couldn't we?
We certainly could. I think one of the problems for Farnell may be it's the sparring that he's lacking. He might be in shape, but when you take a fight earlier than you should be taking it, then the timing's not quite right, and against an awkward customer like Monteiro, that's going to be a massive problem. But there's no real method in what he's doing, and he's just a little bit too predictable at the moment.
So he's probably on a pretty good pay night here for coming in and helping Frank Warren out on the second fight on the bill. But, you know, this could be a gamble that backfires if this goes wrong for him.
See, I felt he was using up far too much steam in the first couple of rounds up close. He couldn't possibly land decent punches. He was heaving and trying to force the action when he should really have been stepping back and starting to box again. Now he's struggling to find the range.
Farnell has got very, very scrappy indeed over the last round or two. Needs to get his act back together again, and pretty quickly as well. Monteiro just has a confident, jaunty look about him, and like a man who's fancying the job more with every second as he rams home that jab that time.
Beginning to wonder if Farnell's condition is maybe going to let him down. He's just that little bit short. He's not getting his punches off. His defences are poor, and his head is too stationary. So a little bit of a turnaround in the fight we're seeing here.
Does get there with the jab there, Farnell. But is this just a patch, or is it going to continue for the man who calls himself the Warrior, Anthony Farnell? Good stuff again from Monteiro, who's got the quicker hands of the two, seems to me too, and he's got this kind of dancing, awkward style, a bit herky-jerky. Where's the next punch coming from? Farnell not quite sure of that at the moment. Look at Monteiro here. He's going to do a bit of ballroom dancing out there, I think.
See, Farnell seems to be forcing everything. Everything's just a big effort to him. There's nothing flowing. So I'm beginning to think maybe a lack of sparring is his problem here.
His weight might have been right, but was he really ready for a fight this Saturday? That's a big question in this fight.
Yeah, well, you get yourself in. If he stays on the roads and he does a couple of weeks in the gym, he'll be in good shape. But sparring is of the utmost importance in this game, and his technique is certainly off.
Yeah, and a week ago he thought he was fighting in July, not tonight, just to hammer home that point. two English judges and the South African Darryl Ribbink doing the scoring for the WBU here. Good right hand from Farnell there. Oh, right hand. Monteiro sent the sweat spraying from the head of Farnell. This would be quite something, wouldn't it, if a bloke with a record of 12 wins, 7 defeats was to come in at a few days' notice and pick up this title against Farnell, but it's certainly not out of the question at this stage.
I feel a lot of Farnell's problems are self-inflicted. I think he just come in with a plan to bulldoze through this guy. He should have known he's tough and he's awkward. Maybe, as we've said a couple of times, his preparation just lacking a little bit.
See, I think one of the problems Farnell has with the style he has, pressure, he's not quick enough to close people down. He's plodding forward.
Yeah, he's stalking as opposed to pressurising. But just his timing's not what it should be.
And he's unable to cut Monteiro off at the corners. Look, he just lets him get away there instead of trapping him and pummeling away to the body, maybe. Just not doing enough, and Monteiro draws encouragement from that.
Well, I think Farnell will be hoping maybe that his aggression, his come forward style is impressing the judges. He's forcing the action, but everything's a massive struggle for him.
But you are allowed to win fights on the back foot, we should stress.
If you do that, you have to do it in a kind of clear manner. Normally, close rounds, they tend to sway towards the fellow, forcing the fight, but really has been a scrappy one so far.
Just waiting again, Farnell. There's no real pressure from him there. He comes forward with his feet, but he's not doing much with his fists. He's caught there. Monteiro says, well, if you're not going to lead, I will try those for size. That's a bit better from Farnell with the left hand. But he's looking a bit saggy to me. Is he really match sharp? We repeat the question. Coming in at late notice and taking this late. Walked onto a jab that time.
Well, again, Monteiro's punches the ones having the impact.
Farnell just looking a bit rocky in the later stages of that round, worryingly so, as he makes laboured progress back to his corner. Well, I'll tell you something, in the last few seconds of that last round, really worrying signs, I thought, from Farnell. He looked very tired in the last minute of that previous round, Jim.
Yes, it's the first time that Monteiro's really taken over the action. And his legs are looking stronger, and he's quite happy with what's going on here. He's stealing points with the jab. Farnell still cannot get into range, can't cut the ring down on this fellow.
But are we seeing here something that underlines the essential ordinariness of the British-based middleweights at the moment? I think we are, aren't we?
Yeah, not to mention the WBU title, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, you can hardly call this world-class by any stretch of the imagination.
And we're not going to. Farnell tries to double up with the jab, but maybe that missing sparring is costing him timing, fitness, conditioning in here. Monteiro needs to get some leverage into his right cross that time.
Well, the bursts are coming from Monteiro again.
He looks a strong man, doesn't he, Eugenio Monteiro?
Well, it looked as though maybe Farnell was beginning to grind them down, but in the last couple of rounds he seems to have solved out. Farnell's become more and more predictable. He's running out of steam, so he's an easy target, and Monteiro taking advantage of that.
The usual Farnell work rate isn't there either. Uppercuts now, 3 of them in a row from the Portuguese fighter, who is, believe it or not, boxing on home territory. He's based right here in Manchester, so this is a local derby of sorts. It's not quite City v United, but you know what I mean.
Well, Monteiro looks the much more comfortable of the two. It's been a struggle all the way through, but things seem to be becoming worse for Farnell. Can't get into range.
Getting outboxed and outspeeded quite a lot of the time now. What can Farnell do about this? I know he's got a lot of fans who watch him on TV. They like his fights. They usually think he's in something worth watching, but this looks like a tough old one for him tonight.
Well, everything he's done all night long has been the hard way, just trying to grind out a result. But for me, it's beginning really to slip away from him.
I think it's got to the stage, Jim, where Farnell is going to have to try and really pull this out of the fire with something spectacular late on. I think they really need to read the riot act to him now in the corner. Really set the alarm bells singing, otherwise he's going to lose this.
I think the problem, I think he's run out of steam. There's a tired look about his punching, tired look about his moves. Monteiro knows another good round.
I've got him 3 ahead, Monteiro now. Let's take a look at what the computer's saying here. Farnell only landed 3 punches in the round. How worrying is that?
Yeah, well, there's a tired look about everything he does. His legs still look fairly strong, but he's plodding after Monteiro. I mean, this is an awkward fellow at the best at times, so when you run out of steam, you don't have the sharpness that you need, then you're going to struggle even more. And you can see the solid punches right up through the middle from Monteiro. By far, he looks the stronger now. Their uppercut right through the middle. Farnell not able to come back with anything.
Just looking through Monteiro's record, I was going to say he's within sight of his first ever title, but in fact I noticed he won something called the Trans World Boxing Association Championship. Please, what next? The Hornby train set version?
Well, I've just given the last 3 rounds, as you can see, to Monteiro. Farnell, for me, has lost his way, just doing the same things he's been doing all the way through.
This is round 10. Good left hand from Farnell, who needs something dramatic now. Monteiro rabbit punch. Dave Parris reminds him of the fact. If he does lose this fight, Farnell, he'll have to reflect that it was a mistake going in at 5 days' notice when he hadn't had the required sparring and preparation. They took a gamble, they went for the money, and this could go horribly wrong, unless he comes up with something late.
See, there's a bit more control about Farnell's moving now, but I think it's more because he's run out of steam than by choice. I think he's struggling with the pace now. He just doesn't have that little bit of zip that's required to take over here.
Good right hand from Monteiro after he'd missed with a few, and Farnell backs off and takes cover on the ropes. And he takes a right hand to the head that knocked the head back as well. A lot of these missing, but right hand gets through, and Farnell is down. Big trouble here, round 10 for Farnell. Doesn't know where he is. I think he's going to get stopped. He has to be stopped, doesn't he, here by Dave Parris, because he was staggering around, and Monteiro pulls off a shock win. Beats Farnell in the 10th round. Farnell's left eye had gone a bit as well, but he had worse problems in that his senses were scrambled, and Eugenio Monteiro springs a real shock, and I'm afraid the gamble of coming in and taking this fight at late notice has totally backfired for Anthony Farnell.
Well, there was a completely flat look about Farnell all the way through the 10th round. He had nothing left. It looked as though he was thinking what he was doing, but what it really was, he didn't have the energy to mount a worthwhile attack. So I think Dave Parris, when he got back onto his feet, he didn't look straight back at Monteiro. He looked as though he was still stunned. I don't think referee Dave Parris had any choice but to stop the fight. See, there was a flat look, as you can see, nothing And when the Monteiro opened up, he had nothing to come back with. All he could do was cover up. Monteiro still had that little bit of strength, that little bit still in the tank, that he could get the punches pumping out. And the finishing punch was a good solid shot, little clash of heads there, but Monteiro well on top, didn't worry about that, and there goes the knockdown.
Well, he's beaten Takalu, and now he's beaten Anthony Farnell, and this is a guy who came into this fight with a 12-7 record as a light middleweight, coming in to fight a fully fledged middleweight. I mean, it wasn't the greatest quality fight you've ever seen.
No, it was scrappy, yeah. It was
credit
scrappy
to Monteiro.
all the way through, it was scrappy. But Monteiro took his chance. There was a punch landed right at the start of that exchange which caught Farnell high, and I think that just robbed him of his senses.
Where now for Farnell? He's been beaten and come back before. Maybe he'll come back and regain this title for a third time. I wouldn't rule that out either. But what a night for Eugenio Monteiro. His country might have lost at the European Championships on the opening night, but he's won.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 1 minute and 59 seconds of round number 10, referee Dave Paris has stopped the contest. In his opinion, Anthony Farnell was in no position to continue. Your winner and the new WBU's middleweight champion of the world from Manchester via Portugal, Eugenio Monteiro. Your appreciation, please, for a true warrior, the ex-champion Anthony Farnell.
I can prove I'm the best of the world.